Huh? You don't know this? You don't qualify as a crime game fan.
Crime games and adventure games are even more yummy than mouth-watering big stakes. This is brought to you by me, FORGEE, the Japanese game junkie.
December 22nd, 2023 will be a memorable day for fans of crime games. Needless to say, it's a day that one refined version will be released. I should say this first because it's very important. It is absolutely unacceptable to talk about crime game fans without playing this game. In case you don't play this game, you are a disqualified crime game fan. First, let me briefly explain why. Notice, in this movie, I will call the work which will be released this year as a refined version, and the work released in 1998 as the original version. The original version of this game was released as a PC game a whopping 30 years ago. At that time, the PC game industry was in a period when novel games with an emphasis on characters were beginning to proliferate like bamboo shoots after rain, partly because Too Hot, a game released by Leaf, was an exceptionally big hit. This title was born out of this trend, and it shares the following characteristics. First, it is a school story. Second, the characters have extremely deformed personalities. Third, while the first half consists of daily gags, the scenario drastically changes to a more serious one in the second half. However, the reason why this game is called a legendary work unlike the others is because it is the originator of the crime game. Unlike previous visual novels that focus on characters, this work places the highest priority on the scenario and intentionally makes the gap huge between the gag part in the first half and the serious part in the second half. The player's comfortable world that he or she had believed in until then crumbles, and the player is left in grief. The scenario writer's characteristic conceptual storyline, which is suspended from reality, and the beautiful music that enhances the scenario, create a synergy that moves the player. The synergy of these two elements will make the player's emotions soar until the cathartic ending. Although the original version was 30 years ago, the game was small, and its sub-characters were not fully detailed. It still captivated fans at the time and had a profound influence on later works. The actual game changer was not this game, but Canon, the maiden work of Key, a brand newly launched by the staff of this game, but no one doubts. This game, which was the basis of Canon, is the originator of crime games. As I mentioned at the beginning of this movie, is it really permissible to talk about fans of crime games without playing this legendary work? No, it's impossible. You know what I mean. Without Osamu Tezuka, Dragon Ball, One Piece, and Naruto would not have been born. Of course, the original version was released only in Japanese at the dawn of the internet, so it's only natural that you have never played it. But the refined version to be released this year is different. It's even available in English. From here, I'll introduce the highlights of this work and my personal concerns about it. I could talk for hours about the original version, but that would be missing the point. Since the refined version is not yet released, I will limit myself to a really brief introduction of the contents in this movie. I will upload a detailed review after playing the refined version, so don't worry. What to expect? First, Promised Crying. Second, Paramount Musics. Third, Beautiful Seasons and Voices. Promised Crying. As I mentioned at the beginning, this game is the originator of crime games. Naturally, the creators of this game use all kinds of tricks to make the player cry. Their skills will drive you to the edge like a skilled chess player. Moreover, it is assumed that the original version had to delve into the sub-characters, in particular in a shallow manner, due to the lack of space in the medium. The story would have had more depth if they had told us more about them who play important positions. But even with these handicaps, the game captivated the players of the time. In this respect, the refined version of the platform has enough capacity for this scenario. I can't help but look forward to seeing how powerful the new version will be in bringing players into the world of fantasy. Paramount Musics. By the way, what do you think about the music playing in the background of the movie right now? Is it beautiful but somewhat ephemeral, fantastic, tragic? Different people will have different impressions, but I think the only thing they have in common is that it will be deeply felt in the hearts of all players. If someone told you that the music was written 30 years ago, would you believe it? Not only this music, even single music in this game is highly accomplished. There are two composers of BGM for this work, and both are excellent. The music they write matches the scenario amazingly well, doubling its emotional power. I think it's no exaggeration to say that it's them who are in control of this game. It has been nearly 20 years since I played the original version, but even now, when I hear the BGM, it brings back vivid memories of that time. The musics are so powerful and mysterious that once you hear them, they will never leave your ears. Beautiful Seasons and Voices. Comparing the original version and the refined version, the most noticeable change is the beauty of the CGs. The original drawings are done by Itaru-san, then as now. Her drawings were unique even back then, characterized by their unusually large eyes. Of course, there were pros and cons to this picture in Japan as well, but I will leave it aside for now. For now, I'd like you to compare these two paintings. I have no knowledge of painting, but I can say with confidence that her skill is many times better than it was at that time. Moreover, the painting has been refined in a modern style while keeping her distinctive feature of large eyes. The coloring of the refined version is also lighter, like a watercolor painting, and matches the fantastic atmosphere of this work. It's wonderful. And unlike the original version, this work has voices. It's as if young Japanese voice actors have breathed their souls into the cute characters drawn by Itaru-san. It would be impossible not to cry at the fight of the heroines, decorated with beautiful CG and voices. That's all for now. Promised Crying, Paramount Music's beautiful CGs and voices. These 3 points are what I personally consider to be the highlights of this game. Next, I'd like to write about my concerns. Concerns. First, old-fashioned. Second, disabled heroines. Third, fragile scenario structure. Old-fashioned. The setting is 30 years old, so it's undeniably old-fashioned. Even if we were to introduce Japanese trends of that time, I do not think they would be sympathetic even to the modern Japanese, let alone to the hearts of players from around the world. Fortunately, the conceptual world, not the material one, occupies the basis of the scenario of this work and is not influenced by the times. I look forward to seeing the developer's skill to rearrange the universal theme by leaving the vestige of the time behind. Disabled heroines. This work has 6 heroines, and surprisingly, 3 of them have some kind of disability, either physical or mental. This is a unique feature even for a work made 13 years ago and was controversial even at the time. And not only the heroines, but also the protagonist is a bit unusual. For example, he is described as challenging himself to see how many desks he can stack up in the classroom, to the dismay of his friends. I don't recall any description of him not being able to relate well to his classmates, but the fact that he is still haunted by the forever world, some kind of delusion, seems to me to be proof that he is having trouble adapting to this world. For this reason, the relationship between the protagonist and Mizuka, the main heroine, is not merely that of lovers, but also that of a son and mother of sorts. Including the protagonist, a total of 4 people are disabled people. As you know, the way of thinking about the world surrounding them is different between then and now, and also it's a sensitive part of the game. The refined version of this work is a challenging effort. Fragile scenario structure. The scenario of this work is structurally fragile. I won't go into specifics so as not to spoil the story, but the problem is that once you finish one heroine's route, you will automatically know the end of other heroine's route. Of course, each character's environment and the anxieties they face are different, so each individual route has its own flavor. However, the last scene of each route leads to the exact same story no matter which route is chosen. Therefore, there is a risk that some people may become bored. This point was already pointed out as a shortcoming of this work 30 years ago. Canon, the first work of Key, a brand launched later by the staff of the original version of this game, successfully remedied this weak point and won high acclaim in terms of the scenario. It will be interesting to see how they will address this weakness in the refined version. That's all for now. First, old-fashioned. Second, disabled heroines. Third, fragile scenario structure. These are the 3 points of concern. Summary. What do you think? Did I convey what I wanted to say? To be honest, I'm excited. Expectations and anxieties are swirling in my chest. Unfortunately, at this point in time, there is not much information available, as not even the demo version has been released yet. Therefore, in this movie, I could only talk about what can be inferred from the little information that is currently available officially and the elements included in the original version. But just wait and see. As a self-proclaimed fan of crime games more than mouth-watering beefsteak, I will naturally buy and play this game on the day of its release. And I promise to upload a review movie with a passion that will be condensed in my heart as soon as I clear the game. Because the crime game fans of the world are wanting to see if this game is worthy of being the legendary crime game. Santa Claus is going to bring us a hell of a present on Christmas Day 2023. I hope this refined version will be great, and that visual novel fans all over the world will be able to cry over this legendary original crime game.